shelter. And if it wasn't for anything other than the fact that Rasulullah was ma'mur in doing so, to the extent that people were coming left and right, wanted to associate themselves with Rasulullah. We want association with Rasulullah. Rasulullah said, all the nasab will be cut off on the day of judgment except that which is connected to me. So everybody wanted to connect their nasab with Rasulullah. To the extent that the ayat of Quran was revealed, Surah Ahzab 52, La yahillu lakan nisa min ba'd. O Rasul, that is it. There is no other woman is halal for you after this. Even Allah had to come and tell the people, not Rasul, tell the people, that is it, that is enough. But when you look at the fact that Rasulullah, everybody wants to marry him, why? He's Nabi. He's Rasul. He is now Sahib Ikhtiyar of the entire Arabian Peninsula. He's the Ra'is of all of them. Of course, everybody will be inclined to marry him now. But that's the difference between all the wives and Hazrat Khadija. She married him when he was not a Rasul. She married him when he was not the Ra'is of the entire Arabian Peninsula. She married him when he did not own people as far as their possessions and as far as their belongings is concerned. She trusted and married him when he was an ordinary individual. Of course, Rasulullah has not revealed his nubuwwah to anyone, but he's not mab'us bi risalat yet. He marries Bibi Khadija 15 years prior to mab'us bi risalat. That speaks volumes. That everyone else who married Rasulullah after that, there was a ghariza, there was a reason and desire behind it. When Bibi Khadija married Rasulullah, there was nothing of that sort behind it.
Subhanallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So what I wanted to do tonight, in the brief time that I have, speak about some of the features of Bibi Khadija. And there are many lessons that we can derive from it. First feature of this great lady is Isar. Altruism. Fadakari, jisko hum kehte hain Urdu. Isar, what is Isar? Isar is different than Ihsan. Ihsan is infaq, and Isar is different than that. Allah says in the Quran, O those who believe, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنْفِقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا. Those who do infaq in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't do israf, nor do they hold back. They keep it something in between. So let me give you an example. For example, if I have 2 cups of water over here, you come to me that you're thirsty, I give you one and I keep one for myself, that is what? That is ihsan. Because I gave some to you and I kept some for myself. I have $100, someone is in need, I give them 50, I keep 50 for myself, that is called ihsan. I didn't deprive myself and I helped the other person as well. But imagine if I had only 1 glass of water. Either I can drink or he can drink. If I give it all to him, that is called ihsan. When you don't keep anything for yourself and you give it to someone who is more in need. And that is something you find all the time in the lives of Masumin. You've heard, you've read Surah Dahr as well. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. That for 3 days when this family fasted, they needed this food for them to break the fast, yet they gave it away to yatim and asir and miskin who are more in need of it. So you find Janabe Khadija at that level of ithar and at the level where she is showing this altruism for the Qadi. There are 3 types of Isar, by the way. First Isar is with your life, with your nafs. Janab Khadija gave her nafs to Rasulullah as well. Qurban kar dena kisi ko apne. We find the example of that in the kalam of Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas. He said these couplets, Ya nafso min ba'd al-Husayn kununi wa ba'dahu la kuntu anta. Oh nafs, take me. After Hussein, there's no need to live anymore. If Hussein is not around, then why would I want to live? For that matter. Similar is the case when people stranded Rasulullah in the battle of Uhud. Just going after the spoils of war, they left Rasulullah to the extent there was a call that Rasulullah had been killed. Qutila Muhammad. When they heard this false rumor, they all fled. Everybody fled except Amir al-Mu'mineen. He stayed back, brought Rasulullah out of that ditch, and he held him up and he said, Hada Muhammad. After all was settled and done, the ayat of Quran also came down, which said to these people who ran away, Afa in mata aw qutila inqalabtum ala aqabikum. If Rasulullah was to die or he was killed, are you going to turn back on your heels and run away? Just merely hearing the fact that he has passed away? No. Deen is still there for you to defend. They said, oh Ali, why didn't you go? Why did you stay? And he says, oh Rasul, if you had been killed, there's no reason for me to stay alive anymore. But I still needed to search for you. Someone had to stay back. But if you were gone, then I didn't care about my life. I would have given my sacrifice as well. Hazrat Abu Fazl Abbas says the same thing regarding Imam Hussain. That if Hussain is not there, then I don't need to live anymore. Janab Khadija says the same thing. She does it. The one, remember, the one who owns 80,000 camels. 80,000.
80,000.
Not 8, not 800, 80,000. Each camel could be resembled with today's, high standard car. Mercedes. Let's just put it like that.
Tesla.
Imagine owning 80,000 Mercedes Benz. That's how much wealth she possesses. And then she lives in Shaykh Abi Talib just to accompany Rasulullah and to eat from wherever was available over there.
Allah.
That is called Isa.
Oh.
Another person will say, well, I've come from so-and-so family. I'm Malikatul Arab. I'm Malik of this and that. I can't stay here. I'm leaving you. You stay with your own struggles. I'm going. But this is the Kamal of Bibi Khadija, the Isar of Bibi Khadija, that with her nafs and with her life, she gives everything to Rasulullah. Now when it comes to Isar bil Mal, this is Isar bil Nafs. Isar bil Mal is known. If it wasn't for the Mal of Bibi Khadija, Islam would not have survived. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting a stamp of approval on their وَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. We found you in need and we provided you and we gave you, made you mustaghni. With what? With Mal of Bibi Khadija. When she gets married the first day, she comes and she says, Baiti Baituka. My house is your house. Wa ana jariyatuka. And I'm your servant. This is your house and I am your servant. Amen? That's giving everything to Rasulullah. And then she's the one who does the tarbiyat of a daughter who, when her husband asks permission, Amir al-Mu'mineen asked Nabi Sayyida permission to come, she says, Al-Baytu Baytuka wal-Hurratu Zawjatuka. Janabi Khadija said, Bayti Baytuka, my house is your house and I'm your servant. Bibi Sayyida said, your house is of course your house and this house is of course your house and this right here is your zawjat, is in your ikhtiyar. We see the similarity, how she raised her daughter who speaks in the same way. That's where we need to speak as parents to our children as well. Then of course, Janabi Sayyida is at the status of Kamal and Taharat, but nonetheless she goes through the tarbiyat of Bibi Khadija as well. Here women, our mothers need to play the similar role when it comes to the lives of their daughters as well. Giving them that good, pieces of advice they would need when they make this journey into the house of their husband. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allah. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Third of the Isar is through your izzat and abu. That how she always kept the mayar that she's the wife of Rasulullah. Did not take that for granted. Sometimes when you are associated with someone important, you can misuse it to your advantage. Quran came down with these ayat specifically for the wives of Rasulullah. Ya nisa an-nabi lastunna ka ahadin min an-nisa. O wives of the Prophet, you're not like ordinary women. You're now associated with Sayyidul Mursaleen. You have a different maqam now. Don't consider yourself to be ordinary women, therefore your actions should not be ordinary either. People are looking up to you, they're going to take you as role models. You need to come out of those gossips, and you need to come out of those nitty-gritties of the life, and you need to face it. That of course you're going to be setting the standards for others. And that is the reason we find that of course all of the azwaj of Rasulullah are Ummul Mu'mineen, but Ummul Mu'mineen, being an Ummul Mu'mineen is one thing, and remaining Ummul Mu'mineen all throughout your life is another thing. And that's what Janab Khadija Salamullah Alaiha really proved. And so a lot of people question, and I want to address this point as well, that the Shias, they speak ill of the wives of Rasulullah. Shias, speak ill of some of the ashab of Rasulullah. If I was to give you ayat of Quran and hadith from Sahih Bukhari, then would you side with me as well? There are numerous ayat of Quran that talk about those who did adiyat to Rasulullah. Alladhina yu'uduna. Those who do adiyat and harm Rasul. Who are they? Those who live far away from Rasulullah, or those who are in his surroundings? They are the ashab, according to the explanation of ashab. Number 2, Rasul said, treat my family after me with ihsan, mawaddat, with love. We find the example of that after Rasul left as well. And then on top of that, the most authentic book after Quran is Sahih Bukhari. All of you know that, according to their madhab. You find this riwayat in Sahih Bukhari that it will be the day of Mahshar when some of the ashab of Rasul will be driven toward Jahannam. Instead of being brought towards Hawd al-Kawthar, they will be driven toward Jahannam, and Rasulullah will say, and he will call out, Ya Rabbi, Ashabi, Ashabi. Or, oh Allah, my ashab, my ashab. Now these are individuals, for sure they were ashab, because Rasulullah is calling them to be companions. فَيَقُولُ إِنَّكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَكَ بِمَا أَحْدَثُوا بَعْدَكَ ارْتَدُّوا عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ. Say Muhammad. You don't know what they did after you left the Rasul. They became murtad, turned back on you as far as their actions are concerned. So don't question where Allah is now sending them. So these are the people who, well, the Quran is speaking, scolding them. A hadith of Sahih Bukhari is scolding them. These are the same individuals we do not appreciate, and we do not keep them high, because we don't consider anyone who came in contact with Rasulullah, met Rasulullah, was with Rasulullah, has to be definitely a sahabi of Rasulullah. That is not the criteria. Abu Jahl had met Rasulullah. Abu Lahab had met Rasulullah. Therefore you call them to be sahabi as well, while Quran is saying, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. How is this could be the criteria? The criteria has to be much beyond that. Someone who becomes a sahabi and remains a sahabi. Someone who becomes Ummul Mu'mineen and remains and does not violate what Quran is saying. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَىٰ. Stay in the houses and do not leave and do not flaunt the way you used to in the times of Jahiliyyah. Salawat bi Muhammad wa
Allahumma salli ala.
The third feature of BIBI Khadija is also taharat. This is not the Ahl-e-Bait calling her to be tahira. Riwayat mentions that tud'a fil jahiliyyati at-tahira. She was called tahira in the time of Jahiliyyah. Her name was Khadija, but she was known as tahira. Second feature of BIBI Khadija, I'll go through this quickly, is her wisdom and her intellect. It said, أَكْمَلُهُنَّ عَقْلًا. The one who was the most complete and kamil when it came to the aql, وَأَتَمَّهُنَّ رَأْيًا. And she was most firm when it came to taking an opinion. Now this is something, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about dhakarin wa untha, when it comes to these features, when it comes to someone's aql and intellect, when it comes to someone achieving high standards, when it comes to someone getting to the highest level of spirituality, there's no difference between men and women. Dhakarina wa untha. As long as they're mu'min, they will have the similar status. It's not like men will be higher, women will be lower, women will be higher, men will be lower. No, anyone can excel. There could be women who can attain a higher status, and there are men who will not be able to attain that high status. No one will be given leeway in this regard. So we find that she, as far as she is concerned, when Rasulullah came to her and marriage was about to take place, Rasulullah asked her, "Why is it that you want to marry me?" She responded by saying, "Inni raghibtu fika." O Habib or Rasul, I am inclined to you. Rasul said, "Why?" "Because I am wealthy? Because I am the most handsome there is?" I mentioned these two things because that's what the first thing people are asking for. When they ask me, "Molana, can you give us some rishtas?" I give them the rishta and it says the proposals, how they look and how much money they make. The first two criteria is this. How they look and how much money they make. Of course, you want to find the best in this regard as well, but these should not be the first two features. Rasulullah said, "Why do you feel inclined to me?" She responded by saying this. That's her wisdom. She said, "Liqirabatika." I found you inclined to you because you take care of your family. The way you take care of your family now, you take care of your family in future as well. That's one feature you should hold high when you're looking for a spouse. Wa amanatika, you're trustworthy. Because you're being Amin and Sadiq. She saw his amanatari in the travels that Rasulullah used to do, and therefore she was inclined to him. Wa husnu khuluqika, and your husn akhlaq is something which is inspiring me, and I'm inclined to you.
Subhanallah.
And lastly, wa sidq hadithika, and you're always righteous. Sidq hadith, you always tell the truth, even if it goes against you. Even if you're going to be suffering and hurting because of this truth, you still speak of that truth. Why do we need to make the marriage to be that difficult in our society? Riwayat mentioned, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ, when it comes to you, مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ خُلُقَهُ وَدِينَهُ, the one who is full of their akhlaq and their deen satisfy you, and don't turn them down. That should be the first thing that you're looking for. Everything else on its way will come by itself. There are many, single men and women who are waiting in this regard. I urge them, don't delay this process too long. Because, of course, you want to protect your sanctity and you want to protect your modesty and your chastity, and the best way of doing that is by getting married. So therefore, don't make this process to be that difficult. Now also, we're on this topic. One more note in this regard. We find that there are many who are now, because we live in this society, and I remember the famous words of one of the orators, and I give him credit for saying this. Dr. Yaqub, he said once in his speech that we bring our daughters to madrasa and we tell them this is Ali, this is Muhammad, this is Abbas. You can't speak to them, you can't talk to them, don't hang out with them, but you have to marry one of them. We take our daughters to schools and colleges and say, this is Tom, this is John, this is Michael. You can talk to them, you can hang out with them, you can speak to them all you want to, but you can't marry any of them. What kind of standard are we setting? The one you're close to, you're speaking to, you're acquainted with, of course, your inclination will be to get married to them. So there's this trend, there's this uptick in now, because we live in this society, that there's a lot of people who are converting for the sake of marriage. If they were converting for the sake of deen and then marrying you, then it would be okay. But if a person is solely converting for the sake of marriage, then you're hoping that inshallah we'll bring him into the fold of Islam and we'll teach them, inshallah. There's not saying this is qaida kulli and this will not happen. Inshallah, it'll happen. But there's very little chance of this being achieved. So be very, very careful. Is it not the case that we don't have good rishtas or proposals that are lacking in our community? Sallu ala Muhammad. Parents need to play a major role in this. You help your younger children when they want to buy a t-shirt, you help them know buy this one, don't buy this one, this is better color, this is not a good color. When a child goes older and now they're able to drive, you want to help them buy a car, You don't just let them go ahead and make this decision on their own. You help them buy this car. Get this car, this will give you better mileage. Get this color and this and all those other features. You help them because you have experience in that. So you help them buying libas, you help them buying a car, but you don't help them getting married. Which is of course the most important aspect. The response is, "Molana, bachche bade ho gaye hain, sunte nahi hai hamari." They make up their own minds and they don't listen anymore. So what can we do? So here we need to be very important. We need to play this important role in their lives, not make weddings and marriages to be that difficult. Third feature of Bibi Khadija salamullah alayha, that she was shuja. She was brave.
Subhanallah.
Amir al-Mu'mineen said, "Ashja'un nas man ghalaba hawahu." The most brave of the people are those who can control their hawas and their nafs. Janab Khadija salamullah alayha, in that time, marrying Rasulullah and going against her tribe, going against the norm of the society, that takes guts. That's her shaja'at. You know how difficult it is for someone to make this journey? Janab Khadija went against all of these odds. That is the reason when she was about to give birth to Janab Sayyada, all the ladies of Quraysh were hard. They didn't want to be associated with her. We're no longer associated with you because of these reasons. That you married someone from outside. That's the shaja'at of Bibi Khadija. There were so many attempts that were made to lower the status, but nonetheless, the one whom Allah has given izzat, no one can take that izzat away from him. That is the reason Rasulullah said, "Aina mithlul Khadija." Where is the mithl and the likes of Khadija?
Subhanallah.
I came across the share, I don't know if I'll read it right. Koi आसान नहीं मिस्ले खदीजा होना, शर्त है इसके लिए मादर ज़हरा होना.
Oh, Subhanallah. Wow, wow, wow.
कोई आसान नहीं.
Wow. बेशक.
कोई आसान नहीं मिस्ले खदीजा होना, शर्त है इसके लिए
मादर ज़हरा.
Subhanallah. और मादर ज़हरा कौन हो सकता है सिवाय जनाब खदीजा सलामुल्लाह अलैहा के, सिवाय बीबी मोहम्मद.
Allahumma salli
Fourth feature of Bibi Khadija, ishq and love. And that is as a wife, that is as a mother. Of course, there are certain things that Allah has already given to us as a given. It doesn't need to be taught. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instills this love in our heart for our children. Nobody needs to teach to love your children now. I guess maybe some people do. But look at her ishq and love for Rasulullah. One part of it I'll mention now, the second part of it I'll mention in Messiah. That when Rasulullah, this was before Islam, when Rasulullah was coming back from one of his travels, they're both young couple, this is how she would receive Rasulullah. This share is associated with Khadija. جاء الحبيب الذي أهواه من سفر والشمس قد أثرت في وجهه أثرا. Of course, when you travel back in that day, in the desert on open rides like camels and horses, of course, sun beating down on you is going to have some effect on you. It's not like you're sitting in a nice, comfortable car. So she said when he came back, the beloved I longed for has returned from a journey, and the sun has left a mark on his face. Because of the travel, sun has left a mark on his face. عجبت للشمس من تقبيل وجنته والشمس لا ينبغي أن تدرك القمر. I marveled at the sun kissing his cheek, for the sun should not reach the moon. Rasulullah is mine.
Wow. Subhanallah.
Of course, I will not be able to explain this in the depths and the way she was an adib herself and the adab of Bibi Khadija, the way she meant it. But just listening to this, I'll read it once again. جاء الحبيب الذي أهواه من سفر والشمس قد أثرت في وجهه أثرا عجبت للشمس من تقبيل وجنته والشمس لا ينبغي أن تدرك القمر. صلوات على محمد.
Allah.
She's the mother of all of the Masjid, all of the Imams. People say, no, she's the mother of 11 Imams. from the Zurriyat of Ali and Fatima. She said, no, she's mother of all 12 Imams. The reason is because even regarding al-Mu'mineen, Rabbatni Khadija, Imam says. She's the one who did the tarbiyat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So the one who does tarbiyat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is also considered to be the mother. He said, we owe a great deal to Bibi Khadija. We owe a great deal, and all of the Imams are taking pride in her. We owe a great deal. We should name schools after her. We should name hospitals after her. We should name madaris after her. We should name masajid after her. We should name roads after her. We should name universities after her. We should name things after her. Not that she is in need of it because of the barakat, that there is something that we owe to her, that it is because of her wealth today you and I can sit and have this sort of majlis. We owe a great deal to Bibi Khadija.
Subhanallah.
Right? And in this regard you find that if you can't do any of these things, the least you can do is name your daughters to be Khadija. That itself is an azaz for them, not for her. Ma'sumin are taking pride in her. Imam Zain al-Abidin in the court of Yazid, he says, Ana ibn Khadija. I am the son of Khadija. Imam Hussain, when he's facing the enemy in the battle of Karbala, on the day of Ashur, he takes pride in saying that I am the son of Khadija. Similarly, other Ma'sumin have taken pride. Rasulullah takes pride in Khadija by saying that she took care of me when nobody was with me. She provided for me when everybody deprived me. She was with me when everybody strengthened me. So when that is the personality that is mentioned and taken pride by Ma'sumin, just imagine the status of that lady. But of course, because of the athar of Shaykh Abi Talib, the three severe difficulty that they faced in Shaykh Abi Talib, Bibi Khadija did not last much longer after coming out of Shaykh Abi Talib. It is mentioned that only 35 days after the wafat of Hazrat Abu Talib, Bibi Khadija left this world, and for that reason Rasulullah called this to be Amul Huzn, the year of grief. Yes, it was such a big tragedy for Rasulullah that when he loses most in Islam, Hazrat Abu Talib, the one who was backing Rasulullah and supporting him, and the other one was his partner Bibi Khadija, who provided for him throughout his life, and that is the reason, as long as these two were alive, Rasulullah stayed in Makkah al-Mukarramah. But after the wafat of both of these, Rasulullah leaves Makkah and goes towards Medina. The last moments of the life of Bibi Khadija come when she is leaving and she's in the alam of ihtilar, and she says to her daughter Fatima, who's a young girl at that moment, saying that, oh my daughter, can you ask your father to give me his libas and his abba as my kafan? I do not want to ask him myself. I will say, oh Khadija, you gave everything that you had for Rasulullah, for Islam. The least you could ask for is the rida of Rasulullah as your kafan. She does not want to ask for that either. She uses intermediary in the form of Bibi Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. And then she says, take my daughter outside of the room. Take my daughter outside of the room. I don't want her to see the last moments of her mother passing away. I said, oh Bibi Khadija, you're keeping Sayyida out of the room. But here will come a time when Janabe Sayyida herself, when she will be crushed between the wall and the door. And then the daughters of Khadija, daughters of Fatima will be crying over her. There will come a time when Hassan and Mustafa would be bleeding and the blood will be coming out of his mouth. Janabe Sayyida could see those things. Ajrukum Allah. May Allah give you no grief, no sorrow except the grief of Ahl-e-Bait. And comes the last moments of the life of Bibi Khadija. She leaves this world, departs. Rasulullah does not know what to do at this moment because of the shock that he is going through. After burying Khadija, he comes back home. Riwayat mentions that Janabe Sayyida is walking, circling around Rasulullah. Oh Father, Aina Ummi, where is my mother? Rasulullah does not respond. What should he say to her? That I buried her into the ground. and said, "Oh Habib, tell your daughter, your mother is with Asiya, your mother is with Maryam, your mother is with all these ladies in this garden, in this house of Yaqut and Marjan." Rasulullah says that to Janab Sayyida, she is now satisfied that her mother is at a better place. But I would say, "Oh Khadija, you endured a lot. You could have lived a luxury life, but you chose to be with Rasul. But it's still your last moments. Rasul doesn't care of you the way he should have. Come the time of